Welcome to the Self-Care 101 podcast with your host, straight-talking life coach, Puja McClymont. This show provides simple self-development, supporting you to embody your self-worth so that you can live the happier, more fulfilled life that you deserve without burning out. Thank you so much for listening today. Hello, it's season 2, episode 8. In today's show, I'm going to talk about how you can change your life and ultimately the world from what you've experienced through the pandemic. Now, I know it's a big topic, so I'll probably revisit this show again at a later date, but for now, the most important thing to note is that change is possible. Now, if you've started back into the new normal and you can see that things haven't changed much, then this is your opportunity to make a difference. I know we don't have Leo Dicaprio pockets, but it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about standing up for yourself, for what you believe in, for what you want to see in the world. At all other times, it's about self-awareness and how you can contribute to the change that you want to see in the world. If we all do something, we'll create a ripple effect and eventually things will change because they always do. The only thing standing in your way is the courage to commit. So let's get to it. Do you know who Paris Hilton is? Well, you probably know her as a socialite, but she seems to be relaunching herself right now as someone with a bit more substance. And I'm going to tell you this, I am here for it. Why? Because she's making changes. She's got a huge platform. She's got a strong fan base that's been with her for like over 30 years. She's smart. She's seeing what's happening in the world. She wants a piece of it. She wants her name to be associated with change. So she's doing something about it. Now, she recently launched a podcast called This is Paris Podcast. And in this week's show, she interviewed a highly revered spiritual mystic called Sadhguru. Now, I've been following both of them for a long time, and I never thought that I would actually see this interview happen. But with my ex-PR hat on, I totally see the point, and I am here for that as well. Now, in the episode, Sadhguru said he said loads of profound things, but one thing that really struck a chord with me, he said, people are too comfortable in their misery. People are too comfortable in their misery. Now, I completely agree with that. I've been too comfortable in the misery of my weight gain. I mean, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you'll know that it's my problem area in my life. But to be honest, I'm too comfortable. I'm scared to get out of my comfort zone. Do you know why? Because it's hard work. It takes consistency. It takes patience, motivation. And I've just not been able to muster enough of it. So I'll stay in my misery until a rocket is put up my arse and I actually commit to the change that I say I want for myself. Now, I'm sure you do it too. How many times have you wanted to do something new, but something holds you back? Or how many times have you started something and you've said it's too hard and then you've just quit? Now, you might have thought about a great idea for yourself, spent a whole day dreaming about how good life would be if you achieved it. And then the next day, you're like, what was I thinking? And managed to talk yourself out of probably a pretty good thing. So let's first just stop doing that unnecessary self-sabotage and maybe look at what we can do that actually affects the world more positively so that it can have a positive and inspiring influence on what we want. Have you ever noticed that when you spend time with uplifting people, you feel inspired and you want to do more? Or when you watch business moguls, they build bigger empires and you think about how amazing that would be for you as well. Well, what if that person could be you? What if all the goodness inside you could be put to great use in a bid to change the society that we live in? What if you did that every day through every action and inspired yourself to pursue your goals? Now, I know I'd be inspired to kick the excess flab if I spent most of my social time with fit friends who don't judge me. In fact, this actually always inspires me. and then I'll go into my spiral and I'll forget that I've got some great people in my life. Now, accountability in this case can be life-changing if you find the right support. So community is key here. The people that you spend most of your time with is key. The content that you consume is key. How you spend your day is key. You have to want to change yourself in order to inspire others to change too. You can't preach, you have to take action. You have to show the world what you're here for, what you want to see, and let that ripple effect grow. And stop playing games. Be more honest. Say the nice things that come into your head. Don't keep them to yourself. Show others what's going on inside. Let them be inspired too. So if you're feeling like the new normal isn't changing enough for your liking, you need to look at your immediate life, like your little bubble of life, and start making tweaks there. What can you do differently to affect change? What can you do differently in your life to affect change? What about maybe instead of going to the farmer's market every Sunday morning, you go to a homeless shelter instead, or you read to kids, or you do a clothing drive for women in shelters? What if you don't go to the new rooftop restaurant this Friday night and instead take your friend for a drive somewhere new and have a car picnic together? Have a meaningful time together. What if you stop talking about being happy and instead take actions that contribute to your happiness and the happiness of others? And I've put together a few steps that you can take to make this happen for you. So the first thing you'll need to do is reflect, and you're going to have to reflect on the past year. Obviously, what you went through in the pandemic, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you learned, what you didn't learn. And also really what happened this year as things started to open back up again, from shops to restaurants to seeing your loved ones, getting a vaccine, this, that, and the other, how freedom sort of took its place in society again. And in this reflection, what you're doing is looking at how you feel. So how you felt, what changes you want to see, and then looking at ways that you might have already started to contribute to that change. So some of the ways in which you might have started to contribute to change might be through being more selective with regards to your relationships, putting in boundaries, who you spend time with, how much time you spend with them, what kind of time you spend with them, in terms of what you're doing together and stuff. And one of those things is really important in terms of having really selective time with selective people, because if you're surrounding yourself with the people that inspire you, that allow you to be yourself, and you can be your most truthful, authentic self, you're creating that change because you're showing others that being yourself is the way to be, no faking it till you make it, no pretending to be something that you're not, just being who you are and enjoying that space. I promise you, the more authentic you are, the more others will feel inspired to be authentic too. And if they don't, and I'll probably talk about this again, but if they don't feel inspired, they're not your people anymore. You've grown, you've changed, they haven't. Leave them behind and get on with your amazing life. The second thing you can do is list out what you need to do more of that makes positive change, and then commit to doing something every day towards it. Now, I'm not saying anything extravagant, okay? In order to make change stick, in order to make change easy and comfortable for anybody, any type of change, you've got to start small. So I'm talking about saying one nice thing to one person every single day, whoever that person is. If it's your partner, your mum, your friend, your colleague, the postman, whoever it is, just say something nice to them every single day, right? That's one way of starting to see change in the world. look at your immediate neighborhood, maybe look at your street, or if you live in an apartment block, have a look at who your neighbors are. Is there anyone that you know of in your neighborhood that would love just a conversation? Just a conversation, to spread a bit of kindness. Can you do something for somebody? Can you go and buy milk for someone? Can you randomly buy some flowers, or maybe you've bought yourself a bunch of flowers? Can you halve that bunch and give it to your neighbor just for the sake of it? You're looking at, when you want to make these sorts of changes in the world, positive change, and you want to see a more calm and positive, I keep saying the word positive, but you know what I mean? Like, if you want to see those positive changes that promote kindness, that promote all the things that you loved about having time for yourself and learning about yourself and learning about the kind of world that you want to live in, you've got to make little changes that are going to contribute to it. Because what you do will have a ripple effect. If you randomly gave your neighbor half a bunch of your flowers, don't you think that person's going to sit with that and think, what can I do? Pay it forward. Let me tell you a little story, actually. This has just inspired me to tell you a story, which I feel like I've talked about before in a previous show, but this makes a lot of sense. I got married 3 times. On my 3rd wedding, which was the wedding that we had in Windsor, the day after the wedding, me and a couple of the 2 couples that were basically our helpers, like they got us ready, drove us where we needed to go, things like that. We went for a brunch, and basically it was mine and Dwayne's idea to take them for a thank you brunch. So Dwayne and I were paying, and we found this great little pub near where we were. It was awesome. We had this incredible lunch. We still had wedding cake in the car, so we brought wedding cake for dessert, and there was loads of laughter, and it was just lovely. Just such a lovely, like, kind of wrapping it all up sort of thing. And we were getting ready to pay the bill, and Dwayne asked for the bill, and the waitress said it's already been taken care of. So he looked at me and he was like, "Babe, did you pay it?" And I was like, "No, not yet." And he's like, "They said that the bill's been paid." I'm like, "Are you sure? Maybe they've made a mistake and mixed up the tables." And they're like, No, they're sure. So we then looked at our friends and we were like, "Did you guys pay?" And they're like, "No, thought you were treating." And we were like, "Yeah, we are treating, but they're saying that the bill's been paid." Anyway, so we're in this bit of kerfuffle, and the table next to us then said, just smiled at us, and we were like, "Okay, well, that's fine." It was a couple and their kids. And then the waitress said, "The man on the other table has taken care of your bill." And we were like, "What? Why would you do that? Like, that's so nice, So Dwayne and I went over to him, and we were very grateful. And we were like, what made you pay our bill? I mean, it's such a kind gesture. You're a stranger. It's beautiful. We're very appreciative, and blah blah blah." And the man said, "I was overhearing your conversation, and it was so lovely listening to you guys talking about your love, having laughs together, and just your whole vibe was just so inspiring that I just wanted to do something nice for you. And somebody did it for me once, and this was my opportunity basically to do it for someone else. And all I would ask you to do is to do the same thing. Whenever you feel inspired and you've got that extra cash in your pocket, pay for someone's meal." And I mean, Dwayne and I were completely blown away, and we're very appreciative, very grateful people in general. Like, that's kind of how we live our lives. So for us, it was a really big, heartfelt, warm gesture that just blew us away. And we shared wedding cake with them, of course. It was the least we could do. We all sang "I Love You, Baby," and it was just brilliant, right? And that story's obviously always stayed with us. And whenever we talk about the story of our wedding to anyone who wants to listen, we always share that story because it was the most sort of poignant part of the whole weekend. It really just said so much, like, sharing our love just just being together and being with two couples that are very like-minded, that we get along with and stuff, and we're all vibing together. It just spread that love, and it inspired him to share love with us. So, there's an opportunity here for you to do the same in a, obviously I'm talking about, you don't have to pay for somebody's meal. Obviously, if you can do that, but it's just that those random acts of kindness can really go a long way to making positive change in the world. But you've got to start with your small space, your little bubble. Like I said at the top, we don't have Leo Dicaprio pockets to spend the money on fixing the world. But we can only do it really through the actions that we take. Give it a go. You know what? Give it a go. What have you got to lose? What have you actually got to lose? Because at the end of the day, the gesture that you do will still sit with you as a good gesture in your heart, and it will stay with you, and it will make you feel good and everything else. Whether that person appreciates it or not, or thinks that you're a weirdo, let them, because the more kindness they receive, the more they'll see that it's a normal thing to have. Wow, how beautiful is that? Okay, third thing you could do, join communities. Now, when I talk about joining communities, I'm talking about following inspiring people, reading up about inspiring people and their lives, what they do, and then share your newfound wisdom with everybody you know. Share it. If you read a really interesting article, share it with someone. If you, share it on social media, because it sort of hits more people, right? And because you never know who's watching, you never know who's reading your posts and who's following your story. My God, if I could tell you the amount of people that follow my life coaching journey, going from a marketing career into the coaching world, and people literally friends kind of silently stalk me, and I'll randomly see them at a wedding or, a night out, someone's birthday, and they're like, oh my God, I love all your stuff on social media. And I'm like, my what? I'm always really surprised. I'm like, you follow me? And they're like, yeah, I love it. I love everything you post, and I find you so inspiring. And when I'm having a bad day, I know that if I go on Instagram and I see your page, there'll be something there that makes me just kind of flip into a good space. And I'm like, wow, I love that. Could you please next time drop a like or a comment and help my posts reach more people? Thank you. But jokes aside, it's really nice to hear that, it's really nice to hear that, because I don't really know what my friends think of what I do. I put this kind of wall up of I don't care. Obviously I care, but I just don't want to hear something that's going to obviously hurt my feelings. And then when people say to me, oh my God, I love your podcast, like friends, I'm like, you listen to my podcast? I'm like, shit, did I talk about them in one of the shows? No, I don't. I talk about the past. I don't talk about people who are in my present. Anyway, but what's really nice is that obviously I'm sharing my newfound wisdom with everybody that I know. I'll share it with anyone who wants to listen. And obviously the podcast is my favorite platform to do that, because like this, I can go off on one and just enjoy being in this passionate space. Follow inspiring people, share whatever you learn with other people, find your people. This is the way you're going to find your people, because people will come out of the woodwork if they haven't heard from you in a while. If you've distanced yourself from certain people and you're spreading a certain message of positivity, of change, of kindness and things like that, that's probably not your normal self. Not to say that you're not normally a positive or kind person, but a lot of the time we do things and we may not share the things that we do. Oh, now I've just walked into another potential rabbit hole. What I'm saying here is you don't need to post that I did a charitable activity this weekend to get that sort of ego boost. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that make people think, things that make people interested. So this is where you don't preach. So you don't say, oh, this weekend I was at a homeless shelter, or this weekend I helped women who have suffered domestic violence find new jobs. It's not that. It's the story within the story. What made you do that? What did you learn from doing that? How has that impacted your life, and how is that going to impact your life moving forward? That's the kind of way you share wisdom, and in turn, that creates that inspiration for other people. Now, a lot of what you share may not resonate with other people, with people that have been in your life for a long time, friends, family, colleagues, etc. Whoever it does resonate with, they will stay. And those who don't resonate with what you're saying, they won't stay. And I'm just going to say this, and I've said this before on other shows and videos or whatever, that's okay. It's really okay. There are so many people in the world who are your people, who are high vibe, high energy, positivity, kindness, love, change. Those are the people you need to find and spend more time with, and just do it. I promise you, as you start opening yourself up to more of these kind of people, that's who you're going to attract. And the world will be better for it. Another thing you can do is to keep learning, keep improving. Listen to other people, listen to other cultures, know what's happening around you. Don't just live in your bubble and not learn about the rest of the world. Like, it's hard to hear about suffering around the world, but it's good to know about it, have an awareness, understand why the wars are going on, see what is happening in remote parts of the world. What's going on in Samoa, like randomly, but what is happening in Samoa? I'd love to know. I'd love to visit Samoa, but what's going on in Samoa? How are they handling COVID, But when you do it intentionally so that you don't hurt yourself in the process. So if you're very empathic, I'm very empathic, I'm very sensitive. If I listen to and watch news, it really depresses me. It really upsets me. So I avoid it. But I don't keep myself away from knowledge of understanding what's going on in the world, in other countries, how they're handling the pandemic, how they're handling just life in general, because I'm interested. I'm interested to know how the rest of the world is working. Look at New Zealand. So forward thinking. I just can't take it. Obviously, I want to move there because Jacinda is giving me life right now. The woman is fire. And she's making change. She's making change in the tiny island that is New Zealand. Well, it's not that tiny, but you know what I mean. But the island that is so far away, that is New Zealand, she is making so much change. And that in itself is inspiring, that it means that change can happen elsewhere. We've just got to contribute to it. We've got to speak loudly. We've got to make that change. And when I speak loudly, I don't literally mean speaking. You can do it through actual speech, but through your actions. It's always down to your actions. Everyone can talk a good talk, but it's really in your actions that your legacy lies. And the final thing with all of this that I would always say to you, because I love you, be gentle with yourself. You're not going to change the world. You can only do so much, right? You need to commit to being the change that you want to see in the world. And just accept that it's going to take time. Accept that it's going to take time. It's going to take courage, and it's going to take persistence. Believe me, it's going to take persistence. But your efforts will make change. The evidence is there. Even if change that we want to make in the world might be quite revolutionary in terms of turning it from a patriarchal world to a more matriarchal world, that change will happen. These things will happen over time. If you are a parent and you have children, instill those values into your kids now. Teach them about different cultures. Teach them about different people. Teach them about the struggles that other people have. Let them know that the world is not just as rosy as they think it is. That sounds really negative, and I just realized I'm wrapping up the show with a really negative tone. That's not what I mean. Educating your children is teaching them awareness, right? Self-awareness for themselves, their lives, gratitude, appreciation, instilling strong values into them. Those are the things that are going to keep your kids grounded. Those are the things that are going to help your kids make change in the world easily. Those are the things that when they hear something that doesn't align with those values that a teacher says or a football coach says, they're going to go, I don't think so. and they're going to make change. They're going to make those waves, because that's all we can do. But we can do this. So yeah, let's do it. Let's all change the world. Thank you for listening to the Self-Care 101 podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate and review over on Apple Podcasts so that other people like you can find the show. For more information about the work I do, head over to my website, PujaMcClymont.com. And for daily inspiration, please follow me on Instagram at PujaMcClymont. Sending love and talk to you soon.